We had just put the kids to sleep. My wife and I went downstairs and tried to spend some quality time together, but I wasn't really there. My mind was focused on trying to smother another panic attack, something I had gotten really good at. This time I was losing the fight, so I went upstairs to try to take a shower. I do a lot of processing in the shower, so I was hoping it would help me calm down. The water got hot. I hopped in and started deep breathing. I really tried to get control of myself, but my anxiety kept hitting me. After a few minutes of trying to convince myself that it would all be okay, I lost. I found myself pounding on the wall of that shower, crying my heart out, wondering if my wife and kids would be better off if I killed myself. I'd put them through enough stress over the last few years with my risky business ventures. My life insurance policy would take care of them better than I could. Let's talk about the dark side of entrepreneurship. I dreamt of running my own businesses since I was a kid. The idea of being rich and famous was exciting. I wanted to arrive at the Met Gala in a helicopter and spend the rest of my time on my yacht. As I got older, the part of me that was motivated by the grandeur of entrepreneurship shrunk a little bit, next to my hopes for a better, healthier world for the people I love. My parents couldn't pay my way into a traditional lucrative career, so owning businesses was the path I chose to try to change the world and set my family up for life. I got married to my incredible wife at 18 after falling in love in middle school. She wasn't supposed to be able to get pregnant, but surprise, 19 years old with a sweet little girl. My wife and I grew up as only kids, and we knew we wanted our kids to have siblings, so despite barely having enough for a happy meal, here came our next sweet little girl, and lastly, our sweet little boy. Our completely broke, chaotic family of five, overflowing with love. That's where the love I had for my family met my passion for business. In those early years, I would wake up at 6 a.m., go to one of my jobs, and come home from my other job at 1 a.m., with a little bit of a break in the middle. That's how I spent a lot of my daughter's first year. Gone. It's not because I really loved working. I really loved my family, and I needed to be able to provide for them. But there's only so much of that you can handle before you start seriously dreaming of a better life. I spent the next 10 years climbing up the business ladder. I wasn't convinced the whole time I would be an entrepreneur. For a while, I wanted to be a cop, and then an astronaut. I definitely have a power complex, but it was always in the back of my mind. Finally, by the age of 28, I started a private equity firm, acquired a couple of businesses, and had a little consulting service. I'd realized my dream of being a full-blown serial entrepreneur. I felt pretty cool, but mostly I was so relieved that I was finally doing what would actually provide really well for my family. We wouldn't have to worry about bills anymore. We could live a life of vacations and family time and helping others. We were living in the happy world I had dreamt about for my family. Here's a stat you might have heard. 90% of startups fail. It took me about a year to run most of my business into the ground. I was under crushing debt. I had no idea how to get out. I couldn't even come close to paying our bills. I worked constantly to try to make things better. I couldn't sleep because I was so consumed with how to fix things for us. With a hungry family of five, a lot of debt, and no income, I found myself in that shower, coming to terms with my failure and fantasizing about suicide. I was so tired And the thought of an easy solution was so relieving that it terrified me. My wife figured out that I wasn't doing okay and came to check on me. Imagine her surprise walking in to find me sobbing and completely unraveled. I told her I was thinking of suicide, mostly so that they wouldn't need to worry about when our next groceries were coming. She was tired too, but she had the incredible courage to face the darkness with me. She spent the whole rest of that night convincing me that she would rather be homeless than be without me, that my kids would rather be hungry than lose their dad. I could read 1,000 self-help books and not even come close to replacing the love of my caring wife in that moment. Now, to be fair, my wife remembers it differently. She's Latina and full of fire, so when I say loving care, she reminds me the exact words were more like, "What are you thinking? How dare you assume your wife is so shallow that she'd prefer money over her husband? You're not getting out that easy." But at that point, we had been together for 16 years. I knew what she meant, and she said a lot of really nice stuff too. She's the only one who could care for me like that in that moment. She's the only one I could be completely vulnerable with. I made it through the night, thanks to her. But I knew that if I wasn't careful, I'd be back in that same dark headspace. My anxious mind was my enemy, and I needed help fighting it. I got on antidepressants, started going on walks, and hopping on whatever self-help train I could. But relying on my own mental strength is what broke me before. So I wanted some way to try to capture the support I got from my loved ones. For years, I had the blessing of getting to know and love a close group of friends. I texted them asking for some encouragement. As a kid, collecting rocks and shells and trading cards is an obsession. My idea was to have a little collection of encouragement from my support system that I could pull out when things got dark. They answered me with over 20 minutes of encouragement. It brought me to tears, this time happy tears. Here's some of what they said.
I think you're incredibly brave. And I see brave as someone that continues to show up, and you've chosen to show up and still be present. You are doing it every day that you choose to get out of bed, and you choose to try.
Keaton, I know sometimes it's hard to remember the good things, but dude, you are a good businessman. Like nobody hits a home run on their first up to bat. I love you. You're an awesome person. So glad to have you in my life.
Keaton, you are somebody who cares deeply for the people in his life. I'm really proud of you for sticking it out. Hey, Keaton, you are an astoundingly awesome human. You make balloon animals, and that's crazy. That's an amazing hidden talent, apparently. But really, you are one of the kindest, most self-sacrificing people I know. Love you, Mitchell.
That encouragement hit me hard. These are people I'd lived life with. They'd seen me through dark times and still loved me. I started to really internalize that for years, I'd been exhausting myself trying to win at family and money. Self-affirmations and mindset is what I thought would push me forward. But here I had a sort of communal affirmation. I was told that making other people deal with my problems was immature. But I never understood that I could still rely on my loved ones to help make me stronger. We often talk about mental health in terms of what we can do for ourselves. Go for a walk, get a prescription, tell yourself nice things in the mirror. We're told to take charge, act like a boss, pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. But putting so much emphasis on our own power de-emphasizes the role our close connections can play in lifting us up. It takes time to build those relationships, but they are what will carry you through tough times. I've shared my story with a lot of business owners since then, and the response I hear most often is, "I'm so glad to hear I'm not alone." Research done by Dr. Michael Freeman at UC Berkeley suggests that 72% of entrepreneurs seriously struggle with mental health. Here in the state of Maine, over 99% of businesses are small and locally owned. That means almost every single business here is owned by an entrepreneur or small business owner who is at high risk for struggling with crippling depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. That's not the story we hear as entrepreneurs. Pictures of people standing in front of luxury cars or private jets tell us that if you give up, you've failed, and that your mindset is what's holding you back. Articles about entrepreneurship talk about how some 22-year-old made $1 million trading NFTs, or how the top business leaders wake up at 3:30 a.m. to make sure that they're really committed. Maybe those tactics work, but it's a diluted facade of what it actually means to be an entrepreneur. That facade threatens to keep us blind to the bitter risks we face as business owners. We need to be real with what it takes to thrive in a position where everything is on you, and odds are you're going to fail. At the end of my rope, with no hope left over, my life wasn't saved by waking up early and chugging kale juice. What saved my life was the love and care of my support system. Because of that support system, I have a mental safety net that has carried me through a lot of hard times. If you're in a position where you have loved ones who you can ask for support, please talk to them. Lean on them. If you don't have relationships you can trust, please take care of yourself and start gently opening up to new, healthy relationships. We must be vulnerable and invest in life-giving relationships. I still struggle with a lot of the things I did then, but I don't know if I would be here now without having been able to be vulnerable and honest with the people I chose to invest in. No matter what season or stage of life you're in, the people you choose to invest in now are powerful forces of healing and support for your future. If we're going to survive this, we're going to need to do it together. You're not alone.